Very happy to be here at the conference. I'm Raffael from the German company ALYF, and I would like to share with you some common requirements we get from our German customers and how we solve them. So first a little bit about me. So I started with ERPNext in 2018, and I've been an independent consultant first. And yeah, I met Rushab and Faris at Wiesbaden in Germany in 2018, and yeah. Then in 2020, me and my co-founder, we founded a services company, all focused on ERPNext. So we are just consulting and implementing ERPNext for German companies or in the German-speaking area. We also do a lot of contributions. So we have a contribution-first policy. That means like anything that can be solved in the framework or in ERPNext, we will try to solve there and contribute back. And only the very customer-specific things we will implement for the customer in a custom app or front-end customizations. So that means I also have a lot of contributions. I'm in the top 30 contributors of Frappe and almost in ERPNext. Many things can be solved on the framework level, so we do a lot of work there. So some German issues are first that there is a company called Dative, and all accountants in Germany use their software, or like 95%. So we have to try to integrate with it. Next point is we've had a lot of clients where quotations can get really, really long, like 50 pages. And they need some way to structure the quotations so that the customer has an overview and can understand the parts of the quotations. You don't want to scan like hundreds of items and make sense of it. And the last point is that we have a norm for business letters in Germany. So you have this envelope where you have a clear window where the address can be, and you have like a really standard layout so that all business letters look the same and fit in the envelope. And yeah, so we also implemented that. So let's start with the Dative integration. First, what's Dative at all? It's an accounting software used by most accountants. It's been established a long time ago. It has more than 8,000 employees, 500,000 customers. So it's really hard to replace them. And we need to find some way to integrate with it. They just make the work for tax consultants really easy. Have a lot of automations, a lot of integrations with the government, and they are kind of the gold standard. And also for auditors, if they see, okay, this company is using Dative, then they are calm and relaxed and don't worry about it. So we tried a couple of different ways to integrate with Dative. My first thought was, okay, I will just take all GL entries that ERPNext produces, so general ledger entries, and export them in a CSV format. So Dative has their custom CSV format, which is kind of weird. You have to quote all strings, you have to use semicolons as separators, and some special date formats, etc. So one of the first things I did when I got into the ERPNext universe was to build a Dative export as CSV. But there's one problem, that is Dative and ERPNext have completely different data models. So ERPNext can have many rows for one voucher, while Dative tries to fit everything into one single row. And ERPNext also doesn't have explicit accounts for each party, but the parties are just linked in the GL entries, while Dative has separate accounts for each party. So in ERPNext, for example, an invoice would generate these 3 GL entries, while Dative would expect something like this, just one row, and they can achieve this by having this automatic income account where they deduct the tax automatically, and they have the specific customer account and not a general debtors account. So that's kind of a problem. So we can export the transactions from ERPNext like one-to-one. All the balances will be correct in Dative, but because the data model is different, we lose a lot of comfort on the Dative side, because there they can't really make sense of the data. Some automations get lost for the tax consultant. So it's not really good for them to work this way. That's what the export looks in ERPNext, or it's now a separate app since version 14. We just have a lot of columns, and this is the preview that gets generated in ERPNext. I kind of condensed the rows so it fits on the screen, but you can download it via the menu. You will get a zip file which contains multiple CSV files. These are all the transactions, and then you also get the master data, customers, suppliers, and accounts. So the second option we tried to solve some of the problems is to just send the voucher PDF. So Dative also offers a web portal, and businesses can upload their vouchers there. And they also provide an email inbox where you can just forward your transactions, and they will scan the PDF, do some OCR on it, and the tax consultant has access to it immediately. So we built an integration that whenever you submit a voucher in ERPNext, it just sends the email to Dative. And that's a foolproof solution. So you don't have to worry about different data models. They just get the PDF, they automatically process it. And you have very low coupling there. And PDF and standard and email are also some sort of universal formats. You cannot go wrong with that. So this is what the settings page looks like. You can just configure your email account that's used for sending the emails. You can enter the email addresses you get from Dative for each voucher type. And you can choose if you want to print the voucher for outgoing vouchers like sales invoices, or if you want to send the attached files for incoming vouchers like purchase invoices. And then we have, in a custom app, we have the doc events. For example, on the sales invoice on submit, we call our send method, and some code sample here. So we mostly just use the standard Frappy method, make communication, and this way, in one step, we send the email to Dative, and we will see it below the transaction. We have this notification that says, okay, purchase invoice was sent by the Dative integration. So the user sees that something happened. There's also one more option that we also implemented for some customers, which is to not try to build a general CSV export that works for the entire accounting in ERPNext, but for example, just export only sales invoices. And then we can just build a report on the sales invoices and make it very custom, and basically we just take the sales invoice as input and construct exactly what Dative wants to see, what Dative expects. And it will not be, or it will not match one-on-one with the ERPNext accounting. So we don't use the ERPNext accounting in this case. We just produce a sales invoice, and we construct a GL entry for Dative, and then we use Dative for accounting. Of course, this is limited to one voucher type, hard to extend, but it works for like narrow use cases. Yeah, so these are the 3 options we have so far for integrating with Dative. And yeah, the topic sort of haunted me since I began implementing ERPNext, and I'm sure there's more to come in the next years. We will try different ways, and yeah. Next topic is grouping items in sales transaction. So as I mentioned earlier, transactions can get really long. The longest I've seen so far is 50 pages for one quotation. So we need to somehow display the logical groups of the line items. Some groups can be, for example, like one group for software, one group for hardware, one group for parts. Or in the roofing industry, which we also have some clients in, you can have one part roof insulation, roofing, accessories. So we introduced a dummy item group, and so you can just put this in your items table. We added this little bit of CSS to highlight it, so you can easily see where your next group starts. And the group item is for free, and the customer will never see it. So then we built a custom print format where we render the groups differently. So we have the hardware group, the software group, and then we can also print the sum of the group. So we have some logic in the print format that keeps track of the sum. And yeah, I wanted to put the code on the screen, but it was a bit too long, didn't fit. But if anybody is interested, I can show it later. That was actually implemented by our colleague Himanshu, so shout out to him. The last topic is custom print formats. You all already saw it, kind of. This is also a part of it. So we have this German industry norm, or Deutsche Industrienorm 5008, that defines how business letters have to look. And that's kind of hard to achieve using the drag and drop builder, because they have like really defined, like this has to be 5.2 centimeters from the border, this has to be 10 centimeters from the top. And yeah, we have a public repository for that. That's just a template repository that anybody can clone and customize for their own print formats. And yeah, like for all our customers, we clone that repository and customize it for them. That is what the specification looks like. So you see that you can have a field for a header up there. Then you get the sender and address here, some contact information to the right, and you have like really specific values how this has to look. And this is what we have implemented, just the upper part. So yeah, you have the sender address, recipient address, contact information, and header with logo. And yeah, so that fits in the envelope, looks really nice. And yeah, we use this for all our customers. So that's it from me.